Here again from Paleo Problem Island, MikeTheCaveman.com, with another edition of Monday Nights with Mike, live stream Q&A, and you know the deal. Put your questions and comments down in the box. And I'm going to go pull up the live stream on my phone because, as we always deal with, having issues with seeing your comments sometimes. So we'll see what's going on. All right. Hey, Katie, what's up? Seeing your comments sometimes. All right. So, yes, we have it now. Maddie, what's up? I guess the Bachelor's not playing these days right now, right? So you're able to come on now. Awesome. So, Frank the White Belt, what's up, brother? How you doing? All right. So, yeah, while I'm waiting for you to put your questions and comments, hey, Katie, what's up? What's up, Sandro? So while I'm waiting for that, we'll start with, okay, parabens. Jump right into it. So, no Bachelor and parabens. So I haven't really covered parabens specifically. I have to look into see which one. I mean, I saw your comment that you gave me earlier. What's up, Ann? So essentially, with parabens, I know I covered phthalates, which are a similar plastic that's added to different things that is no good. It basically has estrogenic effects. I believe parabens do as well. Don't quote me on that 100%. I'll have to look into what I have and look back at what other information I have. But I definitely haven't done that for sure. Yo, what's up, brother? How you doing, Michael? Michael, parabens, are they estrogenic? Since I got you here. Where's my voice? It's a great question. So I've been dealing with some inflammation going on in my throat. Everybody's asking if I have a cold or anything, and I don't, which is the weird thing. So I haven't really talked about it much on Six Bar Podcast. I touched on it a little bit 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whenever I was on, 3 weeks ago. I haven't really, again, jumped about it in public yet, but I will definitely be doing, whether it's a blog post or a big video on it. But back in October, I was exposed to some mold, and that was in my dad's car. And it's a long story. I'll get through the whole story at some other point, but short version is I'm experiencing the secondary effects of some mold toxicity. So essentially, I inhaled the mold, and what it did was knock down my immune system. And in the process, you may have noticed, I know some people had noticed it in real life, and some people noticed it on the videos, was that I had a full body breakout. And so essentially, what happened is I had something called pityriasis rosea, which is a non-contagious viral infection where after a stress event, things like a cold sore, you get a breakout. And it starts out with something called a Herald patch. And hold on, right there, that bad boy right there, essentially pops out, and from there, what ends up happening is that is like the indicator that in about 6 to 8 weeks you're gonna have a full body breakout. And yeah, my cousin's the one that actually spotted it. She spotted it on Thanksgiving, so end of November, about middle of January, full body breakout, and that's where I got like, some nice stuff going on in my head and everything. So nasty stuff, and that takes about 6 weeks to go through. And yes, I should be using some Megaspore, as you said, Maddie. Funny enough, I actually ran out twice now in this process when I needed it most. Mostly because they've been on back order. That's been so popular, and I have so many people that like it. And in terms of my personal batch, I wanted to make sure my mom was getting it, so she took priority over myself. And yeah, unfortunately, while and while I should have been taking it, she got priority. The long and the short of that is that had the full body breakout, and that also had a peripheral neuropathy, shin pain in the middle of the night that was debilitating. Had to put fire cream on, CBD, major stuff. And yes, I know, Mike. Unfortunately, not all of us order 400 bottles at a time. So, yeah. That being said, let's see. I think so. I'm going parabens. Yeah, I definitely avoid parabens. I'll do a full video for you, Maddie. I'll definitely look into that. Fire cream on the voice. Yeah, I like the idea, Michael. It's definitely a good idea. Um, I've considered it. I might do it tonight just to see. Hey, Susanna, what's up? 500. I'm sorry, not 400. 500 bottles. Can't be on because I'm in class right now. I wanted to know what you do for allergies without taking allergy meds. I don't want to take those harsh meds. I'll listen after. Thank you. So the long and the short of that one, Susanna, is Megaspore will be the first line of defense. From there, I would be avoiding immunogenic and inflammatory foods. So you're basically already doing that anyway. I would just be making sure to take things that aren't going to be allergenic. Yes, spores, on the spores. Yes, Maddie, I will definitely have to link up with you about that. Michael, she has some decent products, skin related stuff. I'll put together a three-way message at the end of the live stream. And Maddie, definitely, I want to introduce you to Michael. You guys could definitely get along pretty well. It looks pretty decent, those products. So we'll talk more about that later. And if, if it works, maybe get some samples, something, and have to plug it on here. But either way, back to what we were saying. My voice, yeah. Mold toxicity, I will definitely do a major thing on that at some point. Hey, Danny, what's up? Okay. Let's see what we got going on. Susanna's allergies. Cool. Gonna send me some samples. Awesome. Thank you. So interestingly, I had two separate questions today, earlier around like 6, from two different people regarding Ayurveda. So basically, it's a traditional Indian style of medicine. And one was asking about how I did the blood type diet and how I don't really buy into eating right for your blood type. And they asked basically eating right for your dosha, or if I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or whatever, but essentially it's eating right to your type according to Ayurveda. And then somebody else had asked about food combining. And I do know that food combining is huge in Ayurveda. I'm not too familiar with it. I'm going to have to look into it, do a little more research on that. And before I make a definitive statement. But odds are I'm probably not going to be too far behind it. That being said, Ayurvedic herbs I stand very much behind. Ashwagandha is one of my favorite things. And it is a traditional Indian herb that's huge in the Ayurveda. So in terms of diet, I don't necessarily buy into a lot of what the natural medicine scene says, but when it comes to herbs, 100% behind it. So traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, definitely on board. The diet end, could there be something interesting to be seen there? Yeah. And I know Michael's got an exciting project that's not ready to be talked about in public quite yet, but I'm sure there's going to be some really interesting takes on that. So keep your eyes out for Rebel Health Tribe. They have some incredible projects coming down the pipeline, as always. John, what's up, brother? John Zona. Yeah, so maybe with that project Michael's gonna be doing, maybe it'll open my eyes. Maybe there'll be something else that can be seen in the natural medicine world. Who knows? Either way, the fact of the matter is, I'm not dogmatic as much as people like to pigeonhole me as being dogmatic. I like to I keep my eyes open. I'm always researching, so maybe there is something there. The herb end, definitely. Sean, what's up, man? How you doing? But yeah. So regarding food combining and stuff like that, yeah. So, but one client had sent me the article regarding food combining and why you're not supposed to combine grains and meats, or you're supposed to eat fruits in isolation, and that's because your body can't produce the appropriate enzymes to do that. And honestly, the article they sent me was talking about how, and actually it was funny because the article was debunking it, and I would tend to agree with that. But the basic concept, what I gathered, is that if you eat grains and meats together, is that the meat will putrefy, it will rot in your stomach. And what's interesting about that is the fact that your stomach, it's almost definitely not going to happen, because first of all, things don't really hang out in your stomach. Your stomach's releasing, the acid itself will break things down. Second of all, the stomach will release peptides that will break that down. So there's enzymes that are released in your stomach that are designed to break down protein. And as such, generally, most things will get broken down in the stomach, particularly on the protein end. And that's why the whole meat's going to rot in your colon is complete garbage. And we've talked about that before. Because honestly, what actually rots or putrefies, rotting literally means being broken down by bacteria and yeast. Well, what gets broken down there? Starchy carbohydrates, fruits, sugars. So the stuff that, they're saying, like vegetarians, vegans, Plant-based people are saying, oh, you got to eat those, otherwise the meat's going to rot in your stomach. No, that's the stuff that rots. Now, the fact that it rots in your colon is not necessarily a bad thing. You want things to ferment. It's a different way of looking at it. So we look at rotting as being a bad thing, but you want those carbohydrates to ferment. You want your probiotic bacteria in your gut to be able to digest that stuff and then utilize it. So whole separate concept, but essentially meat will not rot in your colon. No, eating it with grains will not be the problem. Eating the grains in particular is generally the bigger problem. So John says, first of all, hanging in there. Sounds good, bro. That's what I like to hear. Hey, Kim, what's up? And Danny says, hard enough to get people to eat clean, let alone rules with combining. I hear you, Dan. I'm with you. That's like, so there's huge arguments going on right now in the nutritional world, as always. Oh, the calories in, calories out, or eating low carb or eating high carb. It's the same arguments go back and forth over and over and over again. And honestly, there's lots of nuance to it. There's lots of certain populations are unique. You know, everybody is their own unique snowflake. So everybody's individual. And the reason why I buy into the ancestral template is mostly because it's just simple. You know, the whole caveman motif is simply not, no, don't eat this because cavemen didn't, or you have to eat this because cavemen did. It's simply, look, this is what our evolution went through. This is what our bodies are adapted to generally. It's a basic framework. If you eat more of the foods that we used to eat, you're probably going to be healthier than we did. You know, Matt Lalonde had the best way of putting it. So it was at AHS, the Ancestral Health Symposium, all the way back in 2011, so 6 years ago now. And it was organic chemist perspective on the paleo thing. And essentially, the thought is that how would you sell it to the core sciences? And it was that humans have had inadequate time and selective pressure for full and complete adaptation to seed consumption. So that's the fancy way of saying that, yes, it doesn't mean that we can't eat grains, legumes, seeds, nuts. It just means that they probably shouldn't form the bulk of our diet because for a long time, weren't the bulk of our diet. Yes, 100,000 years ago, we might have consumed the occasional grain. We might have found some and popped it in our mouth and eaten it. But did it represent what it looks like today? Were hunter-gatherers eating Wonder Bread? No. Were they drinking beer? No. Were they eating pasta? No. Should that be the bulk of our diet? No, it shouldn't. Meat, vegetables, some starchy tubers, particularly if you're not insulin resistant. So, okay, let's sidetrack on that for a second. There is the big debate on whether you should be going low carb, whether you can incorporate some carbs, whether you should go all the way to keto, and there's individual variation. I don't like people with adrenal issues, thyroid issues going too low carb. I also don't like necessarily athletes, that are performing at high intensity go super low carb. And the fact of the matter is, the reason why is that, yeah, there's some glycolytic demands. Your body needs some level of sugar at a certain point. The problem is the vast majority of people don't need that carbohydrate beyond just enjoyment factor. And what happens is, really, the more insulin sensitive you are, the more able you are, the better your cells are able to respond to carbohydrates, then yeah, the more you're going to be able to consume. The vast majority of people are not insulin sensitive, unfortunately. As a population, we are getting increasingly overweight and obese. As such, we probably should, and plus that brings us into the whole microbiome and on that end, most people are experiencing gut dysbiosis because from eating too many refined sugars. So as such, their gut's off, they're insulin resistant, so most people don't need too many carbohydrates. But there are populations that do. So, it's everybody's individual. So you need to really play it by ear. Hey, Annie. Hey, Faye. What's up? Excuse me. So, let's see. We talked a little bit about allergies. Talked a little bit about The Bachelor. About parabens. Talked about some skin products. And let's see, what else? Benefits of licorice root. Great question. So there are numerous benefits, and there's two different types of licorice root we could talk about. So I'm going to pronounce this word wrong because I never can pronounce it right. So there is just licorice root that's plain in and of itself, and I can actually really use some of that right now. Um, Licorice root in and of itself. That it's funny. I actually had the bark at one point. My dad had bought it somewhere. I'm still trying to trace it down how to get more. But you chew on that and basically you keep chewing it almost like before there was gum. Hunter gatherers would chew on sticks and you keep chewing it, it would turn to a gum almost. So that licorice root will clear out throat issues like nobody's business. So my inflamed throat right now, which again, no other health issue, no other illness issues. I feel great, just my voice is gone. That would be perfect right now. So sore throat or just inflamed throat, licorice root, great stuff. That being said, there is something called glycerinic acid, and probably pronouncing that wrong. Good luck spelling it. But that can somewhat times be toxic if consumed in too high of amounts. As such, they have something called deglycerinated. Like I said, I can't pronounce it. Deglycerinated licorice, so DGL. And deglycerinated licorice is incredible for healing the mucosal lining of your gut. Now, with your gut, you came into the middle of a really squirrely part, Vic. So, we're talking about licorice root, but essentially, there's something called deglycerinated licorice. DGL is what you're going to want to get for supplement. And what you're going to want to do is it's going to help to heal your gut lining. So somebody who has acid reflux, somebody who has issues like that, what it's going to do is help heal the mucosal layer. The reason being, your gut has three primary layers, okay? There is the epithelial layer, and there's multiple layers to that, but that's basically like the muscular layer, the skin inside yours. Yes, Danny, DGL, deglycerinated licorice. Because it removes the glycerinic acid. Again, can't pronounce that. But essentially, what's going to happen is you take that, there's the epithelial layer. Above that is your mucosal layer. So think mucus. Okay, that's what it is. It's there. It's there to protect your trach. So people who get ulcers after acid reflux, what's happening is generally the H. pylori are eating through the mucosal layer, which in turn was supposed to protect epithelial. Well, that ulcer is when you have a hole inside of the epithelial layer. So your mucosal layer was eaten through, which in turn exposed your epithelial, and the bacteria then are able to eat through the epithelial layer. So what the DGL will do is it will help to heal the epithelial lining. So what you're going to want to do is if you're dealing with gut issues, DGL, awesome stuff. So regarding the blood sugar, no, it shouldn't raise your blood sugar. If anything, it generally will help to regulate, but it shouldn't be a problem. Depends on depends what you're going on. Do you have any acid reflux, Vic? If you have any acid reflux, if you have, you got some bad gas, you could possibly use some, but probably not. Most people generally don't. Other things that are good for that though, aloe is pretty good. The bone broth will help to heal the epithelial layer. Collagen, gelatin will do the same. From there, the third layer, because I mentioned that, I'll just touch on it, is the actual microbial layer, so the bacteria and the yeast. So that's where a good probiotic comes in. So the bacteria and yeast will control the microbial layer, the mucosal layer, and the epithelial layer. You want the bad gas. All right, fair enough. It's on you, bro. It's on you. All right. So licorice root, good stuff. You can do licorice root as a tea as well. It's somewhat relaxing. It can also, again, help with immune boost a little bit. Licorice is great stuff. It's just that you don't want to go too crazy with the glycerinic acid, so that's why you got the DGL. They've removed the glycerinic acid. Yeah, exactly. Licorice root powder, the cough stopped immediately, 100%. Like I said, I used to chew on that, so. What's good with that sick ice? What sick ice is that? This is going to be good. You always have the best questions, Vic, so it's going to be fun. I'd love to know what the hell you're talking about. Let's see, what else we talked about so far? Those of you joining late, like I said, we talked about food combining a little bit. That's it, guys. that you put to Brent's birthday party back in the day? Oh, was it the dry ice? Was it the dry ice we had? um, the one that turns into a gas. So yeah, probably. Yeah, probably the dry ice. So dry ice is carbon dioxide frozen, and what's cool about dry ice is that it's a solid and it sublimates, which means that rather than turning into a liquid when it gets hot, it doesn't melt. It turns into a gas directly. So sublimation skips that phase. So carbon dioxide goes from a solid to a gas, and yes, deadly stuff. You can put it into a water bottle and it would explode if you close sealed it. So don't do that. Bad. Don't want to get put on the FBI watch list. Probably shouldn't have talked about that. Anyway, fact of the matter is, you can do some cool experiments with it. Just go to an ice factory, Vic. I'm sure there's one out east. There's one in Deer Park. So, yeah, yeah, it's cool stuff. If you have to travel somewhere and need to pack stuff, if you put it in the cooler, coolers will be fine because coolers aren't vacuum sealed. It's the problem is you put it in the bottle and you seal it, it will vacuum seal, and the air needs to go somewhere, so no good. Can we get some other questions not related to dry ice at this point, though? Chris, what's up, brother? How you doing? Oh man, Boog, Boosh. I don't know what you're saying, man. All right. So yeah, let's go. So while I'm waiting for some more questions, we'll just go back to that food combining thing. So essentially, the other thought is that it's going to change your pH, and we've talked about pH balance too. And your body is pretty tightly regulates your pH. So the whole acid alkaline thing we've talked about that a couple times now, not something you really need to worry about overall in terms of okay, I need to eat alkaline foods because my body's too acidic. The reason being is that if you eat food that if you were able to eat something that was alkaline enough to change your blood, you'd be in major problems because it would destroy your stomach. Your stomach acid would raise, and then you'd be getting into those same problems we were just talking about. So the food combining, talking about changing your pH, if you were actually able to change the pH of your stomach, yeah, you'd have major problems. The only thing that can actually change your blood pH pretty much immediately from eating is baking soda. That will actually have an immediate effect on your blood pH. Now, that being said, regarding your blood pH, what regulates that? Well, it's generally minerals. So, both things like sodium, potassium, chloride, carbon dioxide, magnesium. What those are going to do is those are how your body helps to regulate it through both breathing and your kidneys. So, if your electrolytes are super thrown off or you're hyperventilating, then you can go into what's called metabolic or respiratory acidosis or alkalosis, where your blood does in fact, get that. If that happens, bad things happen, like death. So, if you actually had a major change on your blood pH, you're not going to be having a good time. So, yeah. That being said, if that does happen, it's generally indicative of an electrolyte imbalance or a major breathing issue. As such, make sure you actually focus on your breathing. Make sure you're getting enough electrolytes, and you'll be ready to rock. So don't necessarily worry too much about that acid alkaline thing. The reason why a lot of times people see benefit from that is that what are some of the alkaline foods? Well, a lot of times it's vegetables. Vegetables, provided like you lightly steam them, are going to be rich in minerals. So those minerals, a lot of times they are electrolyte based, magnesium, potassium. So you're going to get those in, and yeah, it's going to have benefit. But the fact that it's alkaline forming, that forms alkaline ash, get out of here. All right, Chris, tuning in. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Vic, if I take this stuff that you're talking about, this cool liquor stuff, will I be able to save money on food, get the calories? No, not necessarily. Diarrhea, probably not. Nope. If anything, it'll help actually relieve diarrhea. Hey, Lisa, how you doing? All right. Do B vitamins give you energy? Great question, Annie. And the answer is yes, kind of, not really. So B vitamins, B5, B6, 12, what happens is they act as cofactors in the energy cycle. So they're not caloric in the sense that, so macronutrients, fat, protein, carbohydrates, those provide actual energy. Your body uses those as substrates to produce ATP. So ATP is your primary fuel source. Now, the thing with that is those B vitamins are necessary for the process, for the production of creating that ATP. So the Krebs cycle, which we'll skip through that for right now, just to be nice, but as it's going through that, your body requires those B vitamins as cofactors, as basically helpers to conduct that process. As such, what's going to happen is if you are deficient in B vitamins, yeah, you're going to have low energy. As such, which I've said as such like 12 times now, sorry. Um, if you are deficient and you have low energy, if you supplement with it, you should have an energy boost because now you're going back to normal. If you are mega dosing on B vitamins, are you going to get this super incredible dose of energy? Probably not. So it's just that most people are deficient. So if we're looking at that plant based diet, they are often deficient in B12. Why? The biggest source of B12 is animal products. Now, yes, it is possible to get supplementally. Yes, brewer's yeast produces some. Yes, there are marine algae that can produce it. That being said, not too many people are actually doing that. Most people are just going to a vegetarian vegan diet and just not care, just avoiding the meat and not actually doing it properly. So that's where they go and get a B12 shot, and all of a sudden, oh my God, I have the greatest energy ever. Yeah, because your body's actually able to produce that energy now. All right. Boost your energy, boost your energy supplement. I want shitload of ATP. Unfortunately, ATP as a supplement is not. It does your body doesn't absorb it very well. It's not very bioavailable, is the term. So if you see ATP in a supplement, it's usually bull because your body just doesn't assimilate it well. You produce it pretty well by itself just by taking in calories. So don't try and supplement with ATP. It's not going to get you very far. Um, unless you want take an energy, caffeine, something. Uh, yes. So caffeine is a stimulant. It does stimulate your body. Essentially, what it's going to do is going to increase respiration. It's going to increase the metabolic rate, and because of that, you do produce energy a little bit faster. Is it actually going to provide energy? No, it kind of just tricks the system because it gives you energy a little bit faster rather than extra energy. That being said, yeah, meh. Are corns, what should I take to be ripped all day? What should you take to be ripped all day? Real food, Vic. Real food. Um, are corns nutritious or worth eating? All right. So, regarding corn being nutritious or worth eating, let's be very clear. 98% of corn at this current juncture is GMO. Now, there is a debate on the health efficacy of GMO, whether they actually are problematic or not. As it stands right now, there is insufficient evidence to suggest that GMOs are dangerous. Let's be very clear on that, though. The things they are spraying at, the glyphosate, is not okay. Okay, there is definite issues with the glyphosate. And that's the primary reason why they are being made GMO, besides the proprietary blends and the reason they're doing that. The glyphosate is going to be bad. So Roundup is the trade name for that. But I did a whole video on this issue. The other interesting side of that is that the other reason why we do GMOs is because they're going to increase yield, yet even the research that tries to defend them for being not dangerous freely admits they do not increase yield. So why are we doing it? Now, that being said, regarding that corn, because the vast majority of it is GMO, the vast majority of it is going to have that glyphosate on it. As such, I would say to avoid it. Regarding whether it's nutritious, provided it is properly prepared, soaked, sprouted, there can be some benefit. But if it's not properly prepared, corn does contain zyme, which is a prolamine similar to gluten. All grains contain things that are, so all grains contain these prolamines, okay? Zyme, while not as deleterious, not necessarily as bad as gluten, can be problematic in a lot of people. So, is it great? Nope. But if you can get some organic corn, you if you're going to like a traditional Mexican restaurant and they're using organic corn and you want to have some corn tortillas and you don't have explicit issues occasionally, sure, why not? That's one of those things where if I'm feeling super swirly and I'm out to eat, and whether it's a Mexican restaurant or some other type of Latin restaurant, and you know, occasionally I will have some corn because I want to try the house salsa. I make sure that I double up on the spores and the fibrenza, and I don't experience too many major issues. So, in terms of being nutritious, there's so many better things that are worth eating. In terms of is it worth it? If you want to have it occasionally and you don't notice explicit issues, sure. Wheat, no, I don't do it. Corn, oats, which is it's funny because I still don't eat oats, but of the grains, probably goes white rice. Oats are just below that in terms of least problematic, and then corn from there. All right, tuning back in, but caffeine is my friend. Oh, caffeine's great. There is definitely some health benefits to caffeine. I did the video on coffee regarding it's kind of a bell curve. Essentially, what I mean by that is up to about 2 cups of coffee, there's actually some tremendous benefit. After that, then we start to see a little bit of negative effects. Now, that is individually based as well. There are slow metabolizers and there's fast metabolizers, and that can change how beneficial or problematic it is. But up to about 2 cups a day can be very good. There can be some actually protective effects from neurodegenerative diseases. What I mean by that, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, ALS, all those nasty things. But after that point, the stimulating effect can be somewhat problematic. The copious amounts of Garcias we ate back in the day, bad corn. Yeah, I highly doubt they were sourcing organic, high grade corn at Garcias back in the day, but that was probably the least of the terrible things we did back in Cortland. Whatever. Say la vie. Caffeine, it is addictive. How many milligrams? If we're talking about 2 cups, generally we're looking at about 160 to 200 milligrams a day. I know you probably consume about 12 times that, Vic, but 4 cups a day, or I don't function with the baby. Just be aware of just be aware of the rest of your other issues. If you start to notice some adrenal issues, could be a problematic. Could be problematic. So, Mike, I see that you are ketogenic. I see you as a ketogenic expert. What is the ideal body fat percentage? Well, Annie, I appreciate that. And regarding regarding what is the ideal amount, it depends. So we touched on that a little bit before, that everybody is unique. Everybody has their own. Everybody's their own snowflake. Everybody has their own unique biochemistry, and everybody has their own needs based on what their performance goals are. So, if we are talking about ketogenic for a serious medical condition, talking neurodegenerative diseases. So, if we're talking epilepsy, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, cancer, then yeah, we're looking at like 90-10. So, 90% fat, 10% protein, almost 0% carbohydrate, ancillary. And that if it's not too far gone, you're pretty early, you catch it pretty early in the game, maybe 80-20. In terms of whether we're talking about just general performance, we're looking at like 70-30. And, so if we're talking about an athlete who is an endurance athlete, triathlete, stuff like that, 70-30 is a good point. If we're looking for general weight loss, maybe 60, 25, 5. That was not adequate math. 65, sorry, 60, 30, 10, something like that. That'll be fine. And generally, it'll be pretty good there. Anthony, when the hell are you fighting again? How you doing, brother? That's a great question, and I am itching to. The problem is right now I'm trying to be a responsible adult and currently working on my doctorate, so I don't have the time to put in a proper fight camp right now. And I'm not going to step in the cage without being properly prepared. So I have about 2 more years left of my doctorate, and I'll only be about 32 by the time I'm done. So, not too far gone. Don't mess up your brain. We need it. Thanks, Vic. I appreciate it, brother. Hopefully, I got enough brain cells that I can get at least one more fight into me. Where were you the other night? Where were you last night? Not the other night. Last night. What do you call it? It was WK event. I didn't see you down there. We had some people, some good fighters going on. I didn't see you. But let's see. What do I do? What do I do in terms of what, Vic? In terms of caffeine, how much coffee? Is that what we're asking about? Because we were talking about that before. How much coffee do I do? Honestly, I try to do 3. Oh, I was asking Anthony about that about last night. But regarding the coffee, if that's the question is, I generally do about 3 cups a day. If I'm trying to be mindful, I bring around a mason jar, which is 1 quart or 32 ounces. And essentially what I do is I fill up with 16 ounces of coffee in the morning, and then, which is 2 cups. I will then put in some grass-fed heavy cream, and then add in some water. And from there, that's my morning with my triple threat, and that's a whole nother conversation. And then I'll maybe have one more in the afternoon where I'll put 8 ounces and then the rest. I just enjoy coffee. Just delicious. In terms of adrenal fatigue, so adrenal fatigue is I know I said that word, and it's kind of a misnomer. It's a pretty in-depth question to answer. I've talked about it a lot. I can put a couple of videos up. I can tag you in to that comment after the live stream's over, because we're already out almost 40 minutes. We're already past my normal end time. But essentially, if we're dealing with adrenal issues, or HPA axis issues, you're going to want to focus on your adrenals. You're going to want to focus on your pituitary. Yeah. So, really in-depth question. The short answer is focus on stress. So, breathing exercise, meditation, yoga, getting in adequate sleep, some adaptogenic herbs, which we talked about in the beginning. So, ashwagandha is excellent there. Maybe some rhodiola, cordyceps, chaga, CBD oil, a lot of things. Way too in-depth to answer at this point. But, yeah, I think we're probably about to call it. Any last comments, you can put them on in, but, I truly love you guys coming on every Monday night. A lot of you guys are my regulars. Other of you popping in for the first time. Truly appreciate everything. If you haven't already subscribed over on youtube.com/Mike the Caveman, what's going to be happening is, every day I always put those videos. Your questions help me provide out the content, and I always like to try and help you out. Other big news, I am relaunching MikeTheCaveman.com today. I mean, it's been out, but I haven't done much on it. And my good friend Kim Ross did amazing. And yeah, she did an amazing job and looks incredible. So be sure to head over to MikeTheCaveman.com and subscribe to the email list, because some big things will be coming out over there soon. Keep your eye out for the fire cream. Hopefully by the end of June, we got our big secret launch, but the secret's out. So be ready for that. And yeah, guys, if you're watching on the replay, thanks for making it this far. You're awesome. I didn't see you there, Anthony. I don't know. I was there. It was a great show. But yeah, you know the deal, guys. Subscribe, share with your friends. Love you guys. Thanks for the heart, Kim. You did an amazing job. It looks great. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.